There is no stability, like James tells us, unstable in all his ways. Well, what are we seeing a massive explosion of is mental instability. People that do not have a solid foundation of truth, you're open to anything. We're told to take every thought captive.
Ooh.
We are told, think on these things.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked Podcast. I am Aby Rinella, back with you this week. And I was with you last week also with my guest, Kathy Gibbens. And this week, we're going to dive back into the topic of logic and the importance of teaching our kids logic. If you did not listen to last week's episode, go back and listen to it. We had a lot of fun chatter about kind of where we found our ways in teaching our kids logic and examples. And it was a lot of fun. And this week, we're going to dive into some of the nuts and bolts and the nitty gritty. But before we do, I want to thank Apologia for sponsoring this podcast. If you're looking for a trusted homeschool resource to support your child's education with a strong biblical worldview, you'll find it through Apologia. For decades, Apologia has been a go-to source for Christian homeschool curriculum designed to educate, inspire, and build a lifelong love of learning. They know that homeschooling isn't one size fits all. That's why they offer a growing catalog of resources to fit your family's needs. Dive into online self-paced courses, join live classes led by incredible instructors, or stream engaging video lessons anytime, anywhere. They even offer audiobooks, perfect for learning on the go. Apologia will partner with you in your family's educational journey. Go to apologia.com. Kathy, this has been so much fun. And you guys have to go back and listen to last week because we really discussed it as parents and homeschool parents. We have to. It's not optional. It's not a subject that we might throw in, like maybe chemistry, maybe not, probably not. We have to teach our kids logic. And logic is just a fancy pants way of saying teaching our kids to think well, right? Was that what you would say? How would you explain what is logic?
Yeah, logic is the ability to think well and to reason.
Perfect. And we discussed Kathy's podcast and how I've personally used it in my homeschool. Her podcast is Thinking Through a Brain Cell. Say right?
Filter it through a brain cell.
Filter it through a brain cell. Kathy's podcast is Filter It Through a Brain Cell. Go over, check that out. Work it into your homeschool and go back and listen last week how my family has worked it into ours. So I want to dive in a little bit on we've kind of discussed we discussed a lot of great things, but I want to ask kind of a bigger thing is how can bad thinking? We talked a lot about teaching our kids good thinking. But if we don't do this, how can bad thinking lead to bigger issues? And I was just having some deep thinking because you've inspired me to think deeper on the bigger things. But I realized that, say, for years and years and years, we've taught our kids evolution, and not you, not me, but the school system. Yeah. And I, for years, was like, people just think, oh, you know what? That's the only bad thing that's the only lie they're teaching in school. It's just evolution. When they come home, we're going to teach them creation. No big deal. It's just one subject. And I have fast forwarded and looked at this and gone, okay, ultimately the heart of evolution is to say, there is no God. You were not created on purpose for a purpose. You're just no different than the sludge in the street that might have a live bacteria in it, right? And we fast forward that however many years evolution has been taught in our schools. And I look at the abortion and the transgender stuff that's being pushed now. And I really believe that it is a direct effect from all those years of telling people you have no innate value. God did not create you on purpose for a purpose. If you're telling people that, then why can't I be anything that I want? Why can't I be a boy or a dog or a cat? Why can't I murder a baby that's in my womb? Because it has no innate value. And I think so often we think just little tiny lies, little things. Like it's just, my parents learned evolution in school, right? And they're in their 70s. My dad's almost 80. And that was in their generation. And it was like, oh, it's just one thing. We can just let it go. One untruth. But those little untruths grow and grow and grow, and they end up causing major, bigger issues, major damage. And so can you kind of share some either other examples or why it is so important that we don't let those little bad thinking things go, either in our personal lives, in our kids' lives, or bigger picture in our culture?
Yeah. There's a quote, I'm sitting here trying to remember exactly how it goes. It's by Bill Jack. And he says something along the lines, bad thinking leads to bad ideas, and bad ideas have victims.
Ooh.
Right? It's something like that. I might not have that quite exactly right. But the bottom line is, ideas have consequences. And when we don't understand what's behind these ideas, and when we don't take the time to think something out to its logical conclusion, okay, so if we believe this is true,
right,
then what does that mean? And then what is the repercussions of acting on that as if that were true? And you follow it out. We see this with socialism. Oh, socialism and communism, it's just never been practiced right. It's just never been done right if it was done right. Well, let's follow the mindset,
right,
the belief system that's behind that out to its logical conclusion. And it always ends in disaster, despair, death. Like there is no good thing that
right,
can come from it when you have understanding.
right.
And so if we don't understand how to think rightly, anybody, we're susceptible to manipulation. We're susceptible to fake news, right? All the fake news. And who determines what's fake news? Well, if you don't know how to think well, it's just whoever shouts loudest or whatever comes across your social media feed the most, or whatever your political party is saying that day, because that could change.
Right.
Now they're going to say
seen.
this. Yep. As we have seen. As we have seen.
Yeah.
And so it's, James talks about a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways and tossed to and fro.
Yes.
And that's what I see happening in society today. If you're not anchored in truth, and part of being anchored in truth means being able to recognize it, knowing how to find truth, knowing how to discover truth, because I believe there is truth and we can know it. And it is the glory of man. The Bible says it's the glory of God to hide a matter, and the glory of kings to search a matter out. This is what we're designed to do, is we're designed to reason and to think and to use this brain that God has given us to seek truth. When we don't do that, now we're susceptible. There is no stability, like James tells us, unstable in all his ways. Well, what are we seeing a massive explosion of is mental instability, emotional instability. People that do not have a solid foundation of truth, you're open to anything.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, any bad idea, if you can't recognize that it's a bad idea, sure, do that. Oh, now we're going to do this. And now we're going to do this. And now we're going to do this. And there's nothing that you can actually build a solid life from. Right. And here's the thing. There's no shortage of people out there who are really excited to tell you their bad ideas, to get you on board with whatever it is that they're trying to sell, to pass, like advertisements. Oh my goodness. If nothing else, teach your kids how to think well so they don't get caught up in wasting a ton of money on stuff that's just being overpriced or sold to them that they don't need. And like, there's so many different ways that you've got to be able to recognize these tactics. You've got to be able to recognize when someone's trying to manipulate you, when you're being sold something that you really just don't need, but they know how to play on our human psychology. All of those things happen. And if we are to live a life based on that's stable and that's true and have good mental and emotional health, we have to be able to think and reason and recognize lies when we see them.
Yes, absolutely.
Because one of my favorite books is Live Not by Lies. I don't know if you've heard this one.
So good.
Listen to it back in, I think, 2020, 2021. And I was like, and his whole thing is you don't have to be the person standing up shouting and, making a big hullabaloo about whatever it is you believe or don't believe. But what you can't do is go along with a lie. We will never side with the lie. And if you can just do that, then you are going to save yourself a lot of pain.
Totally.
You're going to save your kids a lot of pain. And it just really sets you up for having a foundation that you can actually build a life upon.
Right. And we can't settle for just the little lies that we don't feel like are any big deal. Like when our kids were little and they'd watch, I don't even know, but like Dino Trucks, or I don't even know if we watched that. So I'm not recommending that. I've just heard of it. I don't even know. but the point is, I was trying to think dinosaurs or land, it's just a little lie, the millions of years. It's not, well, now do you know it's billions of years, because millions of years didn't pan out for them. So now they have to make it billions, because like you said, if there's not a plumb line, if there's not a truth, if there's not a rooted foundation, if there's not one truth, then they're going to waver. They're going to go, oh, well, this lie isn't panning out, so we have to add to the lie. But if we let those little things go when our kids are little, like we don't address it in the books and the shows and the things that they see out there, it will grow. And just like we said, okay, the evolution thing, it grew to something that is so unbelievable. People are like, oh, it's not destroying anybody. No, but it is now. It is now. It's that line of thinking, that thought, that initial thought of there is no God, we have no value. It is now destroying lives in a huge way. And the other thing that you said is, you've talked about propaganda proofing our teens or spotting the lies on the billboard, right? A couple months ago, I had Greta Eskridge. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but she just wrote this incredible book about it's time to talk to your kids about porn, and how she talked about how the world, it has all this propaganda to suck and allure our kids in to something that is very destructive. And she talked about a billboard. You guys can go back and listen to that episode. It's phenomenal. But about a billboard that she was driving by, and all it was it was a billboard for a chip, right? A potato chip. And the potato chip was kind of fuzzed out, and it said something like good enough to have naked. And meaning you don't need to dip it in a ranch dip or a sour cream and onion dip because the chip is so good. But what she was saying is because it was just blurred out, we have been taught that means, ooh, there's something there that I shouldn't, something that I want to see, but I maybe shouldn't, like it's a little alluring, right? And our kids would just drive by that billboard and not even think of it. But she was really talking about how that subtle lie, that subtle propaganda, it gets into our kids' minds. And then as the porn industry is pursuing our children, which they are, they're kind of, they're not sensitive to those things because it's on every billboard, every magazine, everywhere you go. And so she was talking about the same thing of we have to teach our kids to think about every single thing, even those simple billboards we drive by, right?
Yep.
And
and it's a propaganda tactic.
Yes.
It's a form of dog whistling where a dog whistle. Right. It's dog whistles like at a frequency that humans can't hear, but the dogs can hear it.
Okay.
So a dog whistle kind of out in society is where they'll either say or have images of very certain things that you don't necessarily pick up on, or everybody doesn't pick up on it. Okay. But there's certain things that it's associated with this. Like one version of a dog whistle that we just kind of talked about is if you have a T-shirt and it's got the rainbow colors behind it. Well, you, without even saying anything, you instantly know that there is a message behind it, that it is the gay agenda or whatever, is going to be behind it because it's just there in the imaging. And so that is the kind of thing that if we can teach our kids, hey, here's the propaganda tactics. This is what they're going to try. There's nothing new under the sun. Like we can tell them in advance, hey, you're going to run into this. There's names for it. It's not new. They're not tricky. They're not sneaky. The only way they work is if you don't know. So guess what? If we teach our kids now when they see it, they're like, there it is. I know that. It's got a name.
Spot the lie. I just spotted
not going to work.
Totally.
Spot the lie.
Yeah, and it's everywhere. And so before we have to take a break, because when I come back from the break, I want to talk about, I really want to talk about homeschooling a single child. I have so many friends doing this right now, and I know they'll be encouraged. But before we do that, it really, God, in his word, we are called to love God with all of our hearts, all of our what? Our minds, right? Yep. It says that, loving God with all of our minds. So before we close this part out for an ad, can you help parents and encourage parents? How do we teach our kids to love truth? How do we teach our kids to love God with all their minds? And we're told to take every thought captive, right? God actually says a lot about our thinking, and it's not passive. It is actually a very active thing that we are commanded to do and that we're told to do. We are told, think on these things. Okay, that's not a passive thing. How often do we think about what we think about? How often do we choose what we're going to think about? Right. And so when we can train our kids, okay, what is the truth here? You said it, how can we train our kids to love the truth? Well, it starts with there is truth. Yes. And where we find it. And it is knowable. And here truth is a person. Yes. All truth is God's truth. Yes.
And if we can point them back to that, then we can teach them, okay, we're going to love truth. So when you love truth, what does that mean? What do you do when you love something? Is you protect it, you honor it, you esteem it, you value it, and you make sure that you want to introduce it to other people as well. When you love something, you want to share it.
Right.
And so to teach them that, no, this matters. The truth matters.
Yes.
The truth is important. And if you can search that, that is the plumb line.
Yep.
And it is a worthy pursuit. We need to teach them that this is a worthy thing. Even if you have to wrestle with something for minutes,
right.
days, months. I think about people who have been involved in the study of different like theology pursuits. I went to a Bible college and it was 2 years and I came out feeling like I knew everything there was to know about the Bible, right?
Right.
Little did I know. But there are people who they have studied one aspect of scripture for an entire lifetime, for an entire career.
Right.
So when we can realize that, no, it is a worthy pursuit
Yes.
to seek truth, regardless of how long it takes, regardless of, okay, this is going to be a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
It
It's
is.
a worthy
and
pursuit.
at the end of the day, when you wrestle with something and you wrestle with it and you wrestle with it and you wrestle with it and you come out standing on that truth, you are going to be so much more solid because of the wrestling, right? And that's why it's so much more important than we don't just tell our kids the truth, which we have to, but that we teach them to seek and find the truth and that we don't have to be afraid of that, because at the end of the day, their walk is going to be their own walk. They're going to have to choose truth on their own. You know, homeschool doesn't save people. Telling our kids, reading them the Bible doesn't save them. It is going to be their own personal decision to walk in truth. And so if they can wrestle with it, they're going to come out stronger. I mean, that's what wrestling does. It makes you stronger, right? I mean, it's this strength thing. And the other thing that I think, two more things. One, lies always hurt people. That's just a reality. Lies hurt people. And so if we are called to love, which we are, love God with all, love God, love others, then we are called to not hurt people. And the truth is love. And so if you love people, the world right now says, if you love, you're going to care about everybody, making sure people feel the way that they want to feel. No, lies hurt people and truth sets them free. So if we do want to love people, then we need to tell them the truth. And before we close out, everybody knows that I have a huge passion for, one of our huge passions is getting kids outdoors off screens. Like, this is my passion, get kids off screens. One thing that I see screens doing is nobody's quiet with their thoughts anymore. Like, if there's a lull if there is a lull, you see people grab their screen and start scrolling. And when they're scrolling, what they're doing is they're letting other people feed into their brain what they want them to know, right? There is no thinking. There's just being told. I'm being told that this is the fashion this week. I'm being told that this is what I should be doing every woman wears a weighted vest now. Why? Because we're being told that you have to wear a weighted vest in perimenopause. Like, that's what I'm being told every single day. Nobody is quiet with their thoughts anymore. So I want to encourage parents, do not hand your kids a screen. Don't do it, because what you're doing is, parents are like, well, they're bored. Good. Let them be quiet with their thoughts. We have to be quiet with our thoughts, because that's when we hear the Lord. That's when we wrestle with the questions. That's when we work things out in our minds. So if you want to put a lot of this into practice that we've talked about this week, number one, go find the podcast, Kathy's podcast, Filter It Through a Brain Cell. 2, make it a priority to teach your kids logic. Talk about it everywhere you go, when you're standing, when you're sitting, when you rise, right? In Deuteronomy, we have to point our kids to truth. And then have faith and peace when your kids wrestle with things. It's okay, because the wrestling will inevitably, God says if we seek, we're going to find truth. If they're looking for truth, they will find there is only one truth. So Kathy, we're going to close out for a quick break, and then we are going to come back and we're going to completely switch gears, which is a surprise to me and a surprise to you and a surprise to our audience, but I'm actually really excited about it. So we're going to give a quick ad and then we'll be right back.
Homeschooling is a big responsibility. With BJU Press, you can feel equipped to give your children not just an education, but a foundation for life. Children learn in different ways, and BJU Press lets you adapt to their unique learning styles. And you'll love the community of other homeschool moms who use BJU Press. They've been where you are, and they're full of advice, encouragement, and practical tips. And when you need even more help, there's the Homeschool Hub. which keeps families organized with easy lesson planning, calendars, and even grading tools. To learn more, visit bjupresshomeschool.com.
Have you tried CTC Math yet with your child? Here's a testimonial from another happy homeschool mom. Amber said, "I'm absolutely thrilled with CTC Math. It's a rare find that I've used with my children for more than 5 years now. I have 6 children using CTC Math, and each child has found it easy to navigate and very applicable. Thank you so much for all that you are doing in providing quality math lessons for my children." If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com. That's ctcmath.com.
We are back. Okay, Kathy, we're switching gears. You shared something at the beginning of this podcast that I thought I knew everything about you because I spend every morning with you. You didn't know it, but I heat my second cup of coffee and then you and I hang out for 15 minutes with my kids every morning.
I love it. That's awesome.
So I thought I knew you. But that just goes to show you don't really know someone just by watching them in the online world. You have just one daughter whom you just graduated, which is crazy. I have a senior this next year, and I will probably be calling you because I'm laughing, I'm crying, I'm celebrating, I'm devastated. It is like every emotion possible, right?
It is.
And then you throw our season of life into it, and you're like, maybe I do need a weighted vest and a high mountain to go climb to work it all out in my brain. So just one child, though, I just want to commend you because I have heard so many parents say, well, because it's just one child, then what about this? What about socialization? What about friends? What about just me and the kid? And I have many, many friends who homeschool one child. And I have many, many people that I know that have stopped homeschooling for that very reason. And clearly you didn't stop. And clearly it worked because you've graduated a child and she's launching. So can you just talk to the moms, a couple, one, those that want to homeschool with one child but have a lot of apprehensions? You more than anybody know those apprehensions. And to the mom that is like, can I? What are the challenges? What are the struggles? But what I want to preface it is God's call does not change whether you have one kid or 10 kids. God's call is God's call. And so when you answer that call, we're all going to have our things, right? And so share a little bit about your journey with homeschooling one child.
Yeah, a lot of people ask. We used to joke that we had the homeschool starter kit with just one kid because it does seem to be kind of not the norm. But it's one of those things where there's going to be hard things. If you've got one kid, if you've got 2, 3, 10, 15 kids, whatever, there's hard things about all of them. And there's really great things about all of them. And we didn't have one just by choice. That was what we ended up, what God gave us.
God's plan.
So it's God's plan. And
by the way, God's plan is always the best plan. There is no plan B. Like God's plan is the best plan. And that's what I love. So if God's plan is the best plan and God calls you to do something, then it's going to have fruit and it's going to be good.
Yeah. So for us, there were a couple things that really made a difference. I feel like when you have an only child, you do have to work harder at creating community. You do. We were always very intentional at creating friendships, at making opportunity for friendships, at making sure that we homeschooled with the community all the way through because we knew we needed that.
Right.
She didn't have that. She didn't have siblings. So there was not that built-in other kids to play with, other kids to interact with. Fight with. Yeah, exactly. All of that. So there's one of the benefits, no sibling fighting in my house. So, there's that. Another benefit is it's way easier to just manage one kid's homeschool than, 8 kids homeschool. So, there's some blessings with it. It's easier to travel, to go do really fun field trips and stuff like that. But it can be hard. It can feel isolating. It's hard as a parent because any parent of an only child knows that you're kind of in this position where you have to be a playmate also.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking that because you said
hard.
It's hard because a lot of people are like, oh, it's hard for the kid because the kid doesn't have other kids. But I often think it's probably hard for the mom too because you now are all the things, right?
Yes.
You are the mom, the teacher, the playmate, the partner, the science experiment partner. You're all the things. And so you would need community. as much as your child needs community, I would assume.
Yes. So for us, we were very intentional all of the years about community, about building those friendships. There were even times that we picked where we moved because it was going to be around people, around friends, around community. We were very intentional about getting her into other things, curricular activities. She was involved with theater. She was involved with welding and, in different things. So that's a commitment where you say, I'm going to be doing driving. I'm going to be signing her up for this stuff. I'm going to be making the commitment to get her there, until she could drive herself, obviously. Right. But that's the trade-off. That is the trade-off. So can it be done 100%? Yeah. Now, different kids, depending on their temperament, are going to like it in different ways or not like it in different ways. So there's going to be that. And there came times where we had conversations with our daughter. She's like, I hate being an only child. I hate this. And I'm like, I know. Right. I know. Right. It's and this is the thing that you have to realize with the kid, both as a parent and for my daughter, there was loss involved. She has keenly felt the loss. I had a second pregnancy. It was an ectopic pregnancy. I lost it, almost lost my life. And we just weren't able to have any kids after that. Right. And she has keenly felt that loss. And so as a family, we have had to grieve that loss because it is a loss of the potential of her to have siblings for a lifetime. Right. And you have to take that into account. Now, there's some kids who they love it. They love being an only child. They love the fact that they don't have to share anything with anybody, and it's fantastic. Right. But that's not always the case. Right. For some kids, it is a very painful thing. And there were different seasons of her life that came up more. Right. And we would have to face that as a family. And it's just,
I think this is it is what it is because God,
it is what it is.
God, just as every homeschool is different and every kid's learning style is different and every kid's passions are different, every family structure is different. And like, I often think, I have 3, but one of them's a boy. And so that boy is at home all day, every day with us girls. And so I have to be intentional in the same way that you did. And for a long time, I kind of was like, God, is this a disservice? But then I'm like, who am I to tell God like that my plan would be better than his? And what I'm learning now is the way that God set our family up is for his glory and each of my kids' good. Like my boy is going to be an amazing husband, right? And he's also, very, very manly because he's the one that's doing all the heavy lifting a lot of times around the house. And like your daughter, God knew from the beginning of time that she wouldn't have siblings, and he's going to use that for his glory and for her good. And so I think so often as homeschool families, we get into this, well, they have 6 kids and they have an even amount of kids. Like I always thought that'd be nice because then they can partner up with things or they this. And the reality is God has given all of us exactly what he has given all of us. And he has called all of us to steward however many kids we have well. And so for me, the encouragement is don't not answer God's call to homeschool just because you think the makeup of your family isn't what you want it to be. Because really, at the end of the day, it's not about what we want. It's about what he wants, right? And so
Well, and there's great benefits. So some of the things that our daughter has been able to do because we can either afford to do it or we have resources to do it with just one kid. She's been able to travel the world. We've been able to, she's goes to camps. There have been all these opportunities that she's been able to take care of that. Guess what? Our friends that have 8 kids, they can't do it.
Exactly.
They can't do it. It's off the table.
Exactly.
And it's like, you know, I think we have to be so careful in Christianity and in the homeschool world where we get very prescriptive. We think that this is our formula. If I do this formula, I will have this outcome for my kid. And, you know, we put it up on the pedestal and anything other than that, it's, I'm just a failure and I'm a disappointment. And it's like,
no,
stop.
Totally. No.
This has you know, everybody in this life has their burden to bear. Everybody, there is something, and we can't take that from our kids.
Right.
If we took it from our kids, we're doing them a disservice.
Right.
This is something that my daughter has had to wrestle with. I didn't choose it for her. It is what it is, but God meets her there. And we have to realize I cannot out circumstance God in her life. And we try to get so formulaic and control this because we
Right.
want the best. We want the best for our kids. We want to set them up for success. But ultimately, this is life.
Right. Totally.
And it's some good and it's some bad.
Yep. Totally. And if
guess
we
what?
focus on the good, then, I mean, that's what we're called to do, the good and the lovely and the praiseworthy. And I love that you said that because so often, I think across the board, we think that there's a formula, you know, and there was a post that was just going around that it made my stomach sick, but it was about, you know, not every mom's called to homeschool because, and then he said, you homeschool moms think that, you know, homeschooling your kid is going to save them. And I was like, whoa.
Nope.
No. That is not true. Nobody's ever said, well, maybe somebody said that, but they're wrong.
I think there are people that believe that.
Right.
I think there are.
But they think there's a formula. There's a formula with how many kids, how to homeschool, which curriculum to choose, how many hours, what, and really what it is, and we've talked about this in other episodes, it's a need to control. Yep. And really, when we talk about logic, it's not until we surrender and until we release, and then we just obey God with what he's given us, right? Whatever that looks like. If that's one boy amongst two girls, or, you know, I wrestled with that for a while. I'm like, he needs a brother or else. And then I was like, who am I, right? Who am I to think that I know better than God does? And so
and it's an opportunity to say, look, this is how we deal with hard things that happen to us in life. Because this is not going to be the last hard thing that's going to happen. This is not going to be the last thing that she's faced with or that I'm faced with, that I didn't see this coming. I didn't choose this. I can't control this. And now I have to walk in this. This is life. And so we can teach our kids a lot by saying, I know. I hate it also that you don't have any siblings.
Totally.
That is valid.
Yeah.
And we get to choose how we're going to live within this.
You sound like a woman who's learned a lot of logic, because I think that's another thing about studying logic is it helps us, it brings us back to a reality and a right thinking, right? Because when we're not logically thinking, we have this attitude of everything's going to go easy, everything's going to go wonderful. And if it's not, then I need to manipulate the situation to make it. And like you said, no, this is real life. Like on this side of eternity, we're going to have things that we struggle with, and there are opportunities to learn how to deal with the next thing we're going to struggle with. Because like you said, this isn't the first nor the last. And so I love, but I'm taking away your thing of it's a lot of it was about community and building community. And I think whether you have one kid or 6 kids, we need that. We need that as we're walking through a world that's feeding us lies and a world that's giving us propaganda and trying to manipulate our minds. We need like-minded people. We need community to help us think right. And that's kind of how I want to wrap this up before I ask you a few other questions is we do need community. We need to find like-minded people so that when we feel like we're crazy, like during the 2020, when I felt like, am I the only person? You know, then you find your people, and it's really important, and it's good for our kids to have a group of kids to learn logic with and to talk logic with. And I love that that's how you started this journey, is just inspiring and encouraging a future generation to think well and filter everything through the brain cell that God gave them and the truth that we find in his word. And so, Kathy, I'm going to quick fire at the end of all of my episodes. I like to quick fire getting to know you, even though clearly I know you every morning. I'm going to ask you a few fun things, and we're going to go through this. So what's your favorite book?
Okay, I've got a couple. I already said one of them, Live Not by Lies.
Yes.
But I also, this year, the last semester with my daughter, we just read Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis.
That's on my list this year to do with my kids.
Love. Okay. So good.
Good.
Because a couple things. Number one, I had them trace the arguments. He lays out logically this whole argument. So have her, or I don't know how many kids you've got. Follow the argument.
Okay.
Each chapter, what is the argument? Even if you just do a little kind of diagram of what is the argument that he's making, because he lays out this beautiful argument for Christianity from a secular perspective. Okay. So it's really interesting. So that's one. Okay. And number two, don't be afraid to disagree with him.
Ooh.
So ask yourself, push her to think, man, do you agree with that? Do you think he's right? Because we took my daughter's class through this, and there were some of the things they're like, I don't think I agree with him on that. That's fine. Why?
Yeah.
I give it to me. Like, make a good reason for why. He's not infallible. I mean, I love C.S. Lewis, but he's also a human. And we're living in a different time than when he was living. And
Right.
so how would you make the argument today? Or would you even make that argument?
Ooh,
So
that's
anyways.
so good. See, you find a mom that's not afraid to question even C.S.
Yeah.
Lewis.
C.S. Lewis,
But
right?
it's okay because like we said in the first episode, it's okay to question things because it leads us back to truth. I love
Yes.
that rather than making our kids go, oh, how dare you ask that? Or something's wrong with you for not agreeing
Yep.
or for asking the question. And I've
Yep.
been guilty of that. And then what that does is it shuts my kids down from conversation with
Yeah.
me, right? It just shuts them down. I'm not going to say it again. And so it shuts down that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. Mere Christianity, live not by lies.
Yep.
Favorite quote?
I put down, this is a quote that my mom always used to tell us, this too shall pass,
Oh,
right? This too shall pass. You're never in a season forever. And so therefore, how can you go through it with integrity? How can you go through this with grace based on truth? So yeah, that's
I'm
my
just
point.
writing all this down. So good. This too shall
This
pass.
too
And how
shall
can you go
pass.
through with it? And the fact that your mom said it. Those are always the gold ones, right?
Yes.
Favorite Bible verse?
Right now, I wrote down Lamentations 3:21-23. It says this, but this I call to mind. See, it's
Mind.
a choice. We're making a choice about what we're going to think. This I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercy never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness.
What's the address again?
Lamentations 3:21-23.
Oh, so good. Okay.
Yep.
If to close us out, if you could have moms take one thing, I mean, we talked about all the things. If moms could just take one thing away from our conversation, what would it be?
I would encourage them, especially those of you who have middle school kids, take a deep breath and welcome their questions and welcome their arguments. I did a whole little mini series on how to argue and debate and do it well. Teach your kids how to question well and how to argue well, and don't be afraid of them doing it. We are so quick to label their argumentation as them being disobedient or disrespectful. And yes, they need to do it respectfully. So teach them to do it respectfully, but we have to welcome it because it is a developmental phase that if we can teach them to do this well, they will have it for the rest of their life.
Oh, that's convicting. And you said that in the very first episode. And I that is convicting to me because that age just can like be nails on a chalkboard. And
Yes.
And I feel like, man, I could go back and do it better with my older two, but I'm a middle schooler now. And I'm like, I took their argument as a challenge to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And I think that we could probably have you back and help us with those middle school years because we do as moms, we take it as a challenge to us and my authority and my knowledge and my blah, 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 blah gag. And we shut them down. And so that was my big takeaway from you is welcome it. Like it's actually a good thing and it's going to set them up for success in life. So I'm going to have you back and we're going to camp on that, mainly just for me. Because I need help with that middle school where they challenge, but really like what you're saying is it's good. It's welcoming. God created their minds to do it. And we can it can go one of two ways. And that depends on how we respond to it. So Kathy, I knew you would be. I knew that you would be a wealth of wisdom and you are such a blessing. Not only just today for what you've shared, but for every day that we get to listen to you. And I hope families go find you on that podcast. Work it into your school day, you guys. She makes it easy for us to do our jobs, right? Kathy opens the door for us to have these good conversations with our kids because a lot of this stuff I wouldn't think about. I don't know what these terms are, but Kathy Gibbens' podcast is, I would say, crucial in helping our children understand and learn logic because we have to teach it. So Kathy, thank you so much. And remind everybody again, one more time, where can we find you and all your things?
Abby, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. The podcast is Filtered Through a Brain Cell, and you can find it on any podcast player. And my website is filteredthroughabraincell.com. I am on Instagram, Filtered Through a Brain Cell, and Kathy Gibbens on Facebook. So yeah, come and find me.
I love it. My kids are going to be super excited. They asked who I was podcasting with today and I told them and they were like, oh oh my gosh, Mom, that's like the coolest. She's like, you're famous. And I was like,
I love that.
You're a celebrity in our home, so they're going to be.
It's the best hearing from the kids. I love hearing from the kids. So that's the best.
They're all about it. You make it fun. You make it easy. You make it understandable for all of us.
Good.
Hey, head on over to schoolhouserock.com. Find everything that you ever needed to know about homeschooling, what Schoolhouse Rock does, podcast episodes. The movie is free on there. Check it out. You can find me, Aby Rinella, Facebook, Instagram, our website, calledtothetop.com. And we will see you back here next week with a new host and a new guest, but always the same quality, pointing you guys back to truth, pointing you guys back to Jesus, and encouraging and equipping you in your homeschool walk.
You're listening to the Biblical Family Network.
Hey, I'm Miki.
And I'm Will.
And we're the co-hosts of the Culture Proof Podcast. We want to invite you to join us every week as we discuss what's happening in the world and then filter those happenings through a decidedly biblical lens.
There are many questions, especially when we see what's happening in our culture today, but the answers are found within the Word of God. So that's where we want to look.
Amen. When we resist those cultural trends that rival the truth,
we remain culture proof.
I found myself vying for control.
Right.
We either put a high expectation upon our husbands to be everything that we need them to be at all times, or we put very little expectation on them and we kind of take over. I think we've got to find that right balance in how God has designed the home and the marriage, that we would come along as a helpmate. And that doesn't mean that you as a helpmate don't do some of the maybe more intricate details of your family life, but it does mean that you come alongside as a partnership, not as a CEO.